Greetings, and welcome to the DoubleTake demonstration of DoubleTake Availability Full Server Protection. In this short video, we're going to show you how easy it is to protect an entire server, including applications and data, from anywhere to anywhere, utilizing DoubleTake Availability. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I have done is I have installed DoubleTake 8.0 on my production server, which is this R2-1 server. I have also created another Windows 2012 R2 server called R2-2. This is going to be my target. I've simply installed Windows on that and DoubleTake. I've added the DoubleTake availability licenses to both, and I've added them to this console. At this point, we can create our job. Simply right-click the server that you're wanting to protect, recover, or migrate, and it looks at the license on the machine. It notices it has a DoubleTake availability license on it, so it automatically gives me the option of protect. So I simply click protect, and I'm immediately taken to my job selection screen. This skips several steps that we used to have to go through in 7.1. This way we can get protected faster. At this point, we select the job that we want to do. It's detected that SQL Server is on this server. It's also detected there's files and folders, and I of course had the 2 full server jobs today. What we're focusing on today is full server protection, so when I highlight that, all my volumes will be selected on the right hand side, and if I had additional volumes like D, E, or F, those would be selected as well. I can also customize my rules by clicking on replication rules and filter out any folders, files, or even filter by wildcards. I don't want to do any of that, so I'll simply click Next. At this point, I'm taken to my Choose Target Server screen. It's going to show me all the Windows servers that are available with the DoubleTake availability license on them. However, the one I want to go to is this R2-2 machine, where I have 2012 R2 installed and just DoubleTake, nothing else. If you don't find the server that you want, you can click Find a New Server down at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and click Next and get to my Set Options page. We're not going to go through all the options here, but what I would highly recommend is clicking F1. What this is going to do is going to bring up the help menu and show you detailed information about all the options within this job, what they do, so you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to use that option. There's lots of options here, so like I said, we're only going to go through a few of them. First, we have the failover monitor. This is where the target monitors the source to make sure that it's up and running, and of course, if it exceeds the time limit, right here it's 5 minutes, it's going to alert us that the source may be unavailable and action is needed. We can do network monitoring through ICMP or through the DoubleTake service. Under failover identity, we have 2 options. One, we can take the source's IP address, which is great in a LAN environment when they're on the same subnet, and we can also keep the target's IP address, which is ideal for servers that are on a different subnet, and we can even update Microsoft DNS servers. The unique part about the full server protection is the reverse protection and routing. First, it wants us to provide an IP address to send to the target. Now, these 2 servers are on the same network. However, if they were on a separate network, what I could do is I could put in the public IP address if I had a 1-to-1 NAT. If I didn't have enough public IP addresses for all my servers, a new feature in 8.0 allows me to even change the ports, so we could do port address translation or port forwarding. The second thing is reverse protection. Reverse protection is protecting the target's information, the target system state, back to the production machine so that in the event of a failover, I can easily get back to my production machine. If we're going to fail over the IP address, we need a separate IP address that will not move, and ideally you want that on a separate NIC. If you are not failing over the IP address, maybe it's a WAN environment or a different subnet, or maybe you just want to change DNS and keep the target's IP address for whatever reason, you don't need a reserved IP address. So here, select the reserved IP address that will not move upon failover. So I've selected the reserved IP addresses, and because I don't have an extra IP address on my production environment, I went back to my failover identity and changed it to a DNS failover. Under network adapter options, we go ahead and we can map up the network adapters so the IP address is placed on the correct adapter if you're doing the IP failover. And there's all sorts of other options, such as leaving certain services running, snapshots at a periodic schedule, either once a day, once an hour, or so on and so forth. You can set up compression and bandwidth, and we even have encryption that you can set up through a server property. Once you're done with all of your options, simply click Next and you're taken to the job summary screen. The job summary screen is a pre-flight checklist to make sure the source and target are compatible as far as their operating system and their configuration. Also, it can make sure that the source and target can communicate. This eliminates headaches because it sets everything up and validates everything before we even get started. Any warnings or errors that you may have, you can simply click on it and you can get a little bit more information. So in this situation, I have extra network adapters. On my target, which is the R2-2 machine, I have 2 network adapters. On the source, I have 1. It's not telling me I can't do it, but it's telling me that the machines are different, and that may be of a concern. It's not a concern for me, so I'm going to go ahead and click Finish and create my job. The job has been created, and a connection has been established between the source and the target. The first thing that happens is mirroring. Mirroring is a one-time file copy of all the data from production to the destination, but it always compares data, so if the data is preceded for whatever reason, it will only send the differences. At the exact same time the mirroring is occurring, we're also doing replication. Replication is the real-time byte-level capture of changes as they occur in production, and they're immediately sent over to the target. Replication will never end, and that's what allows us to have little to no data loss and very little downtime with our high availability product. Another mirror that's occurring is the reverse protection. That's the target sending the data back to production so that after I fail over, I can turn the production machine into the target and reverse the protection. At any point, you can go ahead and double click on these jobs. When you double click on them, you'll get additional information about what's going on with the job, and you can even edit the job. Maybe I want to change some information about the compression or the bandwidth. I can also do that pre-flight checklist again. I'll go back to my jobs here, and what we're going to do is we're going to allow this mirroring and replication to continue. We're going to allow that mirror to complete, and then we're going to go ahead and do a failover. Okay, our mirror is almost complete. The target actually is paused for a moment while the mirror finishes to do what's called hard link processing, because there's hard links in Windows 2008 and higher that we need to go ahead and fix on the target before we could do the failover. So it pauses for a moment while it does all of those, and then our protection will be complete. But before we do the failover, let's go ahead and connect to a share, and let's make some data change. I've connected to a network share, and we have some folders and some files in here. Let's go ahead and let's make some copies of some of this data. So again, just generating some change. As the data was copied, of course, it's sent over in real time to the target system. Also, this would be the same for any deletions as well. So I'll go ahead and just delete these empty files. So I've gone back to the DoubleTake console, and we can see we're in a protecting state now. So from any point beyond right now, we can fail over at any time. So I am completely protected until such time as I need to do a failover. Let's take a look at the target server so I can show you where the data is temporarily stored before we do a failover. I connected to the network share, the $admin share, and we can see there's a special folder that was created called staging-ssm. This folder contains the system state of the source. So this contains the Windows program files, users, program data folders, and the registry. This data is temporarily stored here until the failover occurs because the target system is actually running and we can't overwrite those. What we're going to notice is that the size of this data is going to be around 16 gigabytes. And after we do the cutover, it will be significantly smaller. So you will need a little bit of extra space on that target just to store the system state of the production. So keep that in mind when you're deploying your target system. I've gone back to my DoubleTake console, but before I did that, I powered off the production machine. When you power off the production machine or it fails for whatever reason, the job is going to go into an error state because the target can't communicate with the server. We can see a failover monitor query has failed 5 times. It's constantly trying to ping it and try to talk to it, and it tells me the target management service cannot communicate with the source management service. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and fail over. But before we do, I wanted to show you one last statistic that we have. It's called recovery point latency. It's a brand new statistic in DoubleTake 8 that tells you in a time perspective how far behind the source and the target is. Since I shut down the server gracefully, there was a point where there was a little bit of data change after the connection was terminated, so I would lose 1 second worth of data if I was going to go ahead and fail over now. Let's go ahead and do that though. So I go up to the top and I click failover. I can do a live failover or a test failover. A live failover will shut down production if online, and a test failover will just leave production running so it doesn't impact anybody. Go ahead and click failover, and we're going to do our live failover. Keep in mind, Throughout this entire process, before we did the failover, I've never had to shut down the source server for installation of DoubleTake, creating the job, the mirroring, or the replication. I only shut it down to do the failover and to simulate a server going down. What it's doing when it's failing over, the first thing it does, it combines two registries. It combines the source's software information with the target's hardware information and creates a brand new registry. This is how we truly support anything to anything. And then it's also going to move files from that staging-SSM folder that we saw. It's going to move that directly into the current spots, even though there are some files we still can't overwrite because Windows is running, and then it's going to go ahead and reboot. When it does that reboot, it's going to replace the remaining files, and then it's going to replace that registry and start up as the target. This whole process takes just a few minutes to occur, and this is the only time that we have downtime. So let's go ahead and wait a minute and allow this failover to complete. We're nearing the end of the failover. The target server has actually gone down at this point. That's why the job will show target information not available, because our job information lives on the target, and since the target's rebooting, it's not available. Once it comes back up, it's going to show us that we're completely failed over. The DoubleTake console is still showing the target information is not available. However, our failover is complete. Let's take a look at the file share. Here, I've actually connected to the source server again, and we can see the data that we had. We had that copy of the data, we deleted those files, so all the data is there and it's answering for the R2-1. If I try to connect to the R2-2 machine, we can see that it's not accessible because the R2-2 image of itself is gone because it was replaced by the R2-1. So let's go ahead and connect to the R2-1 $, and we can look at that staging-SSM folder. When we look at the staging-SSM folder, it's still calculating a few things, but notice the size, only approximately 300 megabytes worth of data, much different than the 16 gigs. This is just leftover data that did not necessarily need to be failed over. We go back to our console and we can now see that we're completely failed over and we are running on our target system. If I go to the servers here, what we'll notice is that actually we have two Windows 2012 R2-1 machines. The first one being the one with the original IP address. That one is the one that's offline. That's the one it still can't connect to. This is the new one. It used to be the R2-2 machine, but when it came back up, it said, nope, I'm R2-1 now. At this point, you're completely failed over, and you can stay running on that target system for eternity, or we can get back using the reverse protection. So let's go ahead and show how the reverse protection would work. The reverse protection really relies on the ability for the source machine to be brought back up online. Maybe it's a motherboard issue, maybe it's a hardware issue, but you can still bring the original system back up online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and power this system back on and allow it to connect. Once this comes back online and DoubleTake's able to talk to it, when we go back to the job section here, we're actually going to have the ability to do the reverse protect. Right now it's grayed out because the source server, the original source server, has not been brought back online yet. So in a few minutes we'll have that. However, all of our users are currently running on the other system. So this process can really happen at any time, and there's no immediate need to do that unless you quickly want to get back to production environment. Our original source server, that .40 machine, is now back online, as we can see here from the server section. So now that it's back online, I can go to my jobs and I'm going to have that reverse protection button. So I'm back at that job page. There's the server, there's the reverse. So I go ahead and click the reverse button, and this allows me to protect backwards to the original machine. So I'll go ahead and say yes here, and what's actually happening is the original machine is turning into the R2-2 server, and then protection will go backwards. At that point, it will mirror and replicate backwards, get back into a protecting state, and at a time where you have a maintenance window, you can go ahead and fail over again back to production. If the production server wasn't available for whatever reason, it was completely destroyed and you had to build a new one, what you would simply do at that point would be to delete the job and then simply create a new server with a new identity and create a full server job to it. That's basically what's done automatically. As you saw in the console, we saw a new job get created and the old job get deleted. It's currently turning into the R2-2, and again, once it reboots and it is R2-2, it will go ahead and establish the reverse protection, and you can fail over at any maintenance window that you need to get back to production. And that's how simple it is to go ahead and protect from one environment to another with DoubleTake Availability full server protection. This brings us to the end of the DoubleTake demonstration of DoubleTake Availability Full Server Protection. To learn more and to stay informed, please give us a call at the number on your screen or visit us at doubletake.com. I'd like to thank you for your time and have a great day.